Good evening, everyone. Hope all is good so far. Having a great time doing these lives. I think I'm approaching my 50th live sometime this week. Property investment guy, thank you so much for joining me earlier in the day. It was good sharing all those positive key points and a lot of knowledge that I especially learned in terms of how to speak to a client, in terms of making them understand that this is the right property investment. Anyways, right now we have got a live session with Kevin Morris, all the way from South Florida. And I'm looking forward to speaking. I mean, I've had this thing about speaking about the properties in the United States, to agents up in South Carolina, Texas, and now this is Florida. I spoke to an agent in New York. Had one planned for tomorrow for New Jersey, but that's not happening. But yes, this should be good. South Florida, home of Disney World. Oops. Kevin, are you seeing the request that I have sent through? It might be the internet connection. I don't know what's happening, but are you getting the request, Kevin, on joining the live session?
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Good. All is well.
Oh, good. Good.
I can see you. Like your face is not full. Do you want to take the phone a bit further back? Yep,
How's that?
that's perfect.
Great.
Are you well?
I am. And yourself?
How's the weather in Florida?
Well, we're up. Oh, we're actually getting one of our patented afternoon thunderstorms. So,
Ooh.
but that's okay. 20 minutes from now, it'll be entirely different. So, so let me see if I can
That's
get that's a little bit better.
that's the same kind of weather we have up in London. You know, on one side it's raining, on the other side it's sunny, and then all of a sudden it changes. But it's all good. So Kevin, I've got you here today. Thank you so much for joining me on this live session. I've had this thing about speaking to agents, not just in the UK, but speaking to agents all around the world, because all of us breathe and bleed property, right?
True. Very
Good,
true.
good to understand how the dynamics work in a different country, in a different city. I know in the US, the states have different rules, and they don't go according to the country. It goes according to each state. And
Well, yeah. In Florida, actually, it's almost regional. We're on the East Coast, and what they call South Florida.
okay.
Miami-Dade. I'm in Broward and Palm Beach County. On the West Coast, Naples, for example, and Collier County has a whole different set of rules that are similar, but there's enough of a nuance to them to where you really need to be cognizant of what's going on. And I mean, to the point to where there's difference in forms and difference in disclosures and
So
whatnot.
state, there can be different counties, and each county can have their different rules.
Right, right.
That's amazing. So that is why I have you here today to speak about property in Florida, and to see how agents in Florida are selling property, what kind of property are there for sales in Florida, the returns that you guys are achieving for your clients, what's the capital appreciation like, all that kind of stuff I want to discuss with you. So
Okay.
thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Before we start, Kevin, if you can introduce yourself as to who you
Sure.
are, what you do, and then we can take it.
I'm Kevin Morris. I'm with Keller Williams Realty Professionals in Coral Springs, Florida. We're in the heart of Broward County. So we're part of.
How far are you from Disney World?
We're a good 3.5, 4 hours.
No way.
So
I've been telling people the House of Disney World.
yeah, actually, Disney World hasn't even opened up yet.
I know. It's all closed everywhere. We've got all our amusement parks, everything closed. I mean, the only thing that's open right now are beaches and parks.
We don't even have beaches open. So we have, we just recently, Broward County just recently, as recently as Monday, started relaxing things a little bit. People can now go back into restaurants. You can go back in and get your haircut. Many of us couldn't even go get a haircut.
No, we don't have restaurants, and we don't have barbers open. We don't have. No. Today was the first day that my local car wash was open, so I got my car washed.
We don't have that yet.
So it's a thing, right? I mean, some places you're open, some places we're open. It's good. So you were saying, Kevin, you deal with Keller Williams. You're with Keller Williams, and you deal
Correct.
with real estate in south of Florida, right?
Right.
Just taking you back a few years. I mean, before you started doing what you're doing today, did you always think that, yep, property is the answer to all questions? I want to get into property from a very young age, be college, university, whatever.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that most everybody, if you've read anything by any of the successful entrepreneurs, a lot of that has a foundation in property, has a foundation in real estate, be it residential, be it commercial, be it investment, even being it raw land. They don't, you know, one of the favorite sayings in real estate is they're not making any more land, with the exception of Hawaii, where they have a volcano.
Yeah.
So so from a very early age, I've always recognized that ultimately security and wealth would come from real estate. The one thing that's become really apparent to me recently is how much of a relationship-based business real estate is.
Absolutely.
It's really, you know, I think that.
I think you're the first person to say this on my life.
Really?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone has the same ethics that they want to make relationships with their client, but to actually come out and say that real estate is a relationship-based business.
It really and truly is. And I think what's gone on recently over the past 2 or 3 months has really, if nothing else, it's underscored it significantly. But I think the other thing that it's done is that it's taken it to a whole new level. In the past, it was you would get a phone call from somebody, hey, I'm looking to buy an investment property, or hey, I'm looking to sell my property. You know, what can you tell me about the market? Can you tell me what's going on? Nowadays, people can't leave their homes. They can't go out and see anywhere. There are people who, up until recently, didn't have masks, didn't have disinfectant. So by going out and really taking things to the next level, going out and establishing a relationship and maintaining your relationship and building on your relationships. I can't even recall the number of people that we've gone out to and said, hey, look, you know, we don't want anything from you. We just want you to know that we care. And oh, by the way, we noticed that you posted something on Neighborhood, or you posted something on one of the local chat things that you're out of masks. You don't have any disinfectant. You don't have any toilet paper. So you go by and you drop it off. I mean, it seems like such a trivial thing, but to so many people, it means so much that somebody else is out there looking at it.
The elderly, the aged people that are there, you know, they can just, all they can do is just sit at home and you know, they can just pray for something to happen. And especially like things like this, what you mentioned, that people can actually post it online, and there are people like yourself who go out help them and everything. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and we do have a few elderly people here in South Florida. So, so yes, I mean, it's been the other thing that I think became somewhat of an epiphany for me is how much that makes me, how good that makes me feel when you're able to go back out and do something that 6 months ago was as trivial as stopping by the store and picking up something for a neighbor.
Yeah.
You're going by now and you're giving them something, a mask, you're giving them disinfectant, you're giving them wipes or whatever. That makes such a big difference for them. It's enormous. It's enormous. So and again, it's just kind of
he has come closer during these.
yes, it has. And again, it just underscores that real estate is a relationship business, and those that are successful in real estate have recognized that and are living that.
Yeah.
That's that is one of the philosophies that Keller Williams also expounds on, is the fact that it's relationship. There's a lot of things that we do to help out, to give back. So, but yeah, I mean, to me, that was probably the most significant thing that's going on. The other thing is that there are a lot of people who they hear a lot of mis and disinformation about the real estate market. South Florida, I mean, I think everybody thinks that their real estate market is unique. But I think South Florida is a little bit more so in many respects for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's a much higher ratio of second and vacation homes to primary residence. There's a lot of people that come down here from October, November through April and May, and that's all they come down for. They come down there and the house sits vacant for 6 months. There's also a lot of people who are investing in the shorter term rentals, the Airbnbs and the VRBOs, and they're finding out that a lot of those properties are zoned very specifically. You can't go out and buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and rent it out over the weekend for people. Not everywhere.
Not everywhere. Exactly. Yeah, it's the same in London as well. I mean, not just taking London as an example, but even the UK, the whole of UK, there are certain spots only that you can do Airbnb. If you go out of those spots, no one's looking.
Right. Well, not only that, if you go out of those spots down here, the fines and the ramifications and repercussions, they're significant. And down here, the people that are looking for that are the enforcement people.
Yeah.
So it's you run to those kind of things. So it's a lot different. The market as a whole, I think that there also may be some misconceptions or misperceptions about the market as a whole. Our market has slowed down, without a doubt, like every other real estate market has.
Is that because of the COVID, or is that because in general the market is sort of going down?
And so a lot of it is because of the COVID. This typically starts a very busy time in the South Florida real estate market. The short-term rentals, the winter rentals are over. So a lot of property owners are making the decision: do I want to sell now that I've made my money for the year from my rental, or do I want to invest in making updates or making upgrades to it, or do I want to buy more? So this is typically, April, May, June starts a very, very busy time. The other part of it too is that people are families are preparing to move because kids are getting out of school. They have the summers off. They can do whatever they're going to do.
We've got a here saying Q1 2020 property prices in Florida grew 10.2%. What are your thoughts on the future quarters?
I think you're going to see that Q2. I think you're going to see that property prices, they probably only grew about half that. They probably only grew about 5% or so.
That is, I mean, Q2 would have a major impact because we had April, most of the month people were at home. May were at home. June is now starting and people are just about out there. So I think Q2 is I think
it's a write-off.
Everyone in the world should erase Q2 from their accounts.
That's very true. That's very true.
Don't talk about Q2 2020. Let's go from Q1 to Q3 and Q4.
Q3, you have almost two different schools of thoughts. There are those that are concerned that Q3 property values are going to go down because so many people have been reluctant to put their properties on the market. That what's going to happen is come July, August, and September, probably closer to August and September, you're going to see a glut. Okay, and it's going to go from being a somewhat balanced market, which is what it is now, to being a buyer's market. So there's a school of thought. There's a number of people who think that.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that over the years, especially because Disney World is in Orlando, Florida. It's one of the main tourist hotspots in the US. I mean, you've got LA, you've got New York, but Orlando, Florida is one of those hotspots that families come, live there, and go and enjoy the
right.
Do you think that right now Disney World is closed, but once it's open, do you think that it will have a major impact in boosting that property market in Florida?
I think it will. I think it will. Disney World, to a very large extent, Universal, and the theme parks in Florida are doing a tremendous amount of advertisement, a tremendous amount of promotion for people who live in Florida. There's a number of people who have moved down to Florida for specific reasons. I want to go to the beach. I want to go to Disney World. I want to go to Universal, who never make it there for whatever reason, for a number of different reasons. So yes, so Disney World, I think you'll see a lot of incentives from Disney World. I think you'll see a lot of incentives from Universal. You'll see a lot of incentives from the Hard Rock, the casinos, and from the different places to go out and not only to try to recapture some of that Florida resident customer base, but to do more to incentivize to get more customers to come in and do that. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. It's going to have a ripple effect into the real estate market. People who may have been on the fence about saying, you know what, we were thinking about maybe getting a second home or getting an investment home in Florida. But how often are we going to use it? Well, now Disney World is going to give us these kind of things and the different attractions and the different things that are out there for people to be able to spend their free time. Everybody's been cooped up for so long; they can't wait to get out and go do something.
Absolutely.
So the people that have been on the
I don't know about the tourism industry in terms of people traveling up to Florida and all that kind of stuff, and how long of an effect. I mean, US on its own has such a large population that yes, Florida and all these places can sustain themselves if the US population starts traveling and going out. Once the world starts traveling into all these places, I think it will have a major effect in boosting. I mean, for example, the London economy right now, once people start coming here, I mean, right now it's Ramadan, right? Ramadan, this weekend, it's finished. And past years, you look at, I mean, I've been in the estate agency world for like 10 years. Every Ramadan, once Ramadan, the Arabs flock. The Arabs flock in. There is a lot of purchase and, people buy their holiday homes, people who want to buy investments, all that kind of stuff. And it's not just the Arabs, but a lot of other people also, the Chinese, the Russians, because the London summer is pretty well known around the world. Everyone knows about London summer. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's just right, and it's perfect to go out, do stuff, possibly put on a jacket. So people enjoy that kind of weather and walking. The more people walk in London, the more they see things, and that's what kind of boosts the economy in terms of buying the property. There's only much that developers or first-time buyers sustain that, but you need London's biggest export is selling to the foreign investors,
right? Then Florida's not that much different. I mean, our traditional tourist season is behind us. I mean, we're the endless summer. People come down here in the fall and in the winter, especially from the northern countries, the northern states, and from the northern countries. A lot of folks come down here from Canada. It's just so bloody cold in Canada. But so I think that that's not, we're not going to get as hurt by March and by April, as a lot of other areas may be. But yeah, I mean, our tourism, as far as the restaurants, as far as the be able to go out and do things. I mean, a lot of the events, if you there's no baseball, and you know how baseball is in the
Absolutely.
U.S. Okay, I mean, baseball's in the U.S. to what cricket is in the U.K.
Absolutely, 100%.
So there's no baseball, okay, and that's giving people some cause for pause. Baseball is more than just a sport here. It's something. It's a meeting place. People go there to meet. You'll bond with people that you've never met before and you'll never see again.
Yeah.
But for that brief
For that
3 hours, exactly.
You're there. You enjoy that time.
Exactly.
Kevin, what I want to speak to you about in terms of the property market in Florida itself. As an investor, if I came in now and let's say I had $100,000, $200,000 to invest, right?
Mm-hmm.
What could I buy with money?
Mostly what you're looking at for 100 to 200,000 is you're looking at either a condo or a townhouse.
Okay.
You can find condos that are close enough to the beach to where it's not a chore or a challenge to get there, but you're far enough away to where you're not going to be getting a lot of the problems that you get by being right. The potential problems you get by being right on the beach. We're getting ready to start our hurricane season. We've been fortunate. We've dodged a couple of storms the last couple of years. Everybody's predicting 5 named storms before it starts. We're gonna get all this doom and gloom.
You can naming their storms as well, just because you do that.
But I think the other thing is that my real question or my real answer to that is, what are you looking to do? What are your goals? I think a lot of people
as an investor have 2 goals, right? One is the short-term goal, one is the long-term goal. The short-term goal is how much rental yield am I going to make on this property that I buy?
Mm-hmm.
The long-term goal is how much capital appreciation am I going to get, say, 5-year time. Looking at as a short capital gain. The longer-term capital gain could be, So if I come up with that sort of money and I invest, like where you're saying, in a townhouse close to the beach, what's my rental yield?
Your rental yield's going to be, you're going to be positive. You're going to be positive in cash flow, because there are a lot of still reasonably priced properties that are good values, and we are still enough of a tourist area and a tourist attraction to where people will come down here. They'll come down here for a month. They'll come down for 2 months.
I mean, look at the scene behind you. It's absolutely amazing.
So yeah, I mean, I'm looking out. I'm sitting in my home office. Right behind me is our golf course. Now it's pouring rain, but right behind us is a golf course. That's the other thing too, where you're really going to see your appreciation or your rent yield is going to be in what we call the high season. The period of time from late September through early May.
Yeah.
That's where people are coming down. You'll easily make 65 to maybe as much as 75 or 80% of your total annual income in that 6-month period.
Wow.
Because the
total rental yield per annum would be what? Maybe about 6-7%.
I would say somewhere between 6 and 8.5%.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, a lot of that
net, or that's gross.
That's net.
Wow.
That's net. If you go the further out you go from the beach, you're going to be looking at probably 6 to 8% gross. And depending upon how well you can control things, you may be able to come in at about 4.5 to 5% net, which still isn't that bad. It still isn't that bad. You're gonna have to really mismanage things a lot to not make money in rentals down here. So I mean, that's the reality either that or you're gonna have to have paid way too much for the properties down here to really not get a good return and a good yield.
I mean, you mentioned that if I could buy a townhouse to the beach, right? And you mentioned that on a long-term rental basis, I could make that 8%, 8.5% net. That's on a long-term basis that
right
for a year-long tenancy. and they take it on. Now,
Right.
let's say if that same townhouse I bought and I gave it on the Airbnb market, would that rental yield then double up?
That's that's kind of a big unknown. The reality is that there's a it's kind of a big, I said, a big unknown. When you're doing doing a long-term rental, if you're renting out, even if you just rent out for the season, the 6-month season, you pretty much know what your expenses are going to be. Obviously, you know what your cash flow is going to be. Your
Yeah.
Airbnb, I mean, you could have an incredible gain or an incredible yield for a 2-month, 3-month period, between Christmas, going between Thanksgiving and New Year's. You could have because people want to come down here. Come February, you may not be able to give the place away.
Mm.
Okay.
You have to time yourself pretty much perfect.
Right.
That, I mean, we have the same thing in London as well. Like, typically a rental period in London, you see starting in September. And the reason for that is it's not tourism or anything. It's the fact that students start their academic year
Right.
in September. And from students, whenever you are grown up or whatever, majority of the time, you will always move in and out of your property in September.
Right.
Christmas is dead. No one moves homes and anything like that going up to January. And then you start the market again, March, April, May. So there are quite a few months that people do rent out their property and can get it. We've got a question here again with what type of landlord legislation are there? Some councils require licenses plus EPC and any other certifications, or does the local agency deal with all of that? Do you have the EPC licenses out there also?
No.
So EPC over here is like a energy performance certificate of how much energy does that house emit in the air.
No, we don't really have anything like that. It's
There are no legislations or anything like that.
well,
So if I, as an investor, came on and said, Kevin, I want to buy an apartment or a house, townhouse in South Florida or something like that, you could just take me for a viewing. I could spend the money, pay the money, and that's it. Done.
well, I don't want to say it's quite that easy.
Okay.
The legislation isn't necessarily it's not coming from the county or from the state. It's coming from the associations that are there to ostensibly manage the properties, manage the communities. You'll have, for example, in condominiums, you have condo associations. Some of those associations, their requirements and they're pretty rigid. I mean, everything from
they would take a family on board, or they would not possibly. If you bought the property, then you wouldn't be able to rent it out to students, something like that.
Well, no, not that. It's basically what they'll do is the first thing is that there are some that are basically geared towards the elderly. So it's you can only live there if you're over 55.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two is that in order to try to maintain a balance, they will only allow certain buildings or certain communities to have a certain percentage of rental properties.
Yep.
So, and those are the associations that come in. Now, the localities, they pretty much don't care as long as you're meeting the zoning requirements and you're meeting the code requirements and everything like that. They'll pretty much leave you alone. It's really the associations that come in. Most of the associations, thankfully, they're realistic, and they recognize the fact that for some people this is a business, and they want to contribute. There are, however, like everything else, there's exceptions to every rule. There are some associations that really they want to try to control things so rigidly that it's almost an impediment to people moving in and or moving out. So you really need to work with somebody.
I mean, we get the same thing out here, that when you buy an apartment or buy a property in a gated community, something like that, you have the management. The management has a set of rules who you can rent to, whether there are pets allowed or not, or all that kind of stuff. You have those kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty much straightforward in terms of me coming and buying out
Right.
and I want to invest my money, right? I mean,
Right.
they wouldn't say no to that. I mean,
No, well, so actually some of the associations do say that. Some of the associations will say you can't rent for a year after you purchase, or
oh,
or some of them say that you can't rent at all. So you really need to be looking at those, and those associations. I mean, they've written their bylaws, they've done everything in accordance with what they're supposed to be doing, so that they believe that they are legally in the right. Now, like anything else, I mean, if you really, really, really want to do something and you really, really, really want to change it, you can go back out and you can lobby it. However, it's usually more trouble than it's worth. It's
of course.
a question of going out. Now, we are seeing a trend to where the associations and the groups that are ostensibly responsible for enforcing, and they're doing it so that they can maintain a certain quality and a certain level. So you understand that they are becoming a lot more sane, if you will, for lack of a better term, and they're becoming a lot more amenable to what's going on. So that is a good thing. I mean, I don't want to dissuade people from coming down to
No,
Florida and trying to invest, but
it's good to know that, that before someone comes and says that, okay, I want to invest in Florida, they
right,
should know these things. And this is the whole point of doing these live sessions with, I could do these live sessions with agents in London, but everyone knows London. The people that follow me, they know London. Why
right,
are they going to know more about London? So it's good to bring people from different parts of the world and
right.
speak to them of how real estate business is done there. And like you mentioned, there is knowledge on every point when you speak to someone.
True.
It opens up your brain. Like today, the live session that we have, maybe the ordinary landlord might contact you after this and say that, Kevin, I want to buy a property in Florida. Help me out with it. So
Mhm.
this is the point that I'm getting with doing sessions. Um, Kevin, I know that real estate is becoming tougher and tougher, not just in London, for example, Florida, everywhere. Well, like doing virtual viewings. You know,
Mhm.
you can't show maybe you can, but standing there with your client and showing them your facial expressions on why you buy that property is possibly long gone. And now with all virtual tours that are coming,
I would agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, one of the things, I mean, Florida, South Florida especially, but Florida generically, you have a lot of people who contact us remotely. They're up in New York, they're up in New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So, I mean, I've had a lot of my clients that have come in and called me and said, "Hey, look, I saw this property online, and I'm interested in this. What can you help me see?" So, I'll go in there, much like I'm doing right now. I'll go in there, do a FaceTime session with them, and go back out and show them what's good and what
you
what
show
I
them
think is good.
outside everything.
Right, right. The other thing is that again, it goes back to my original statement is that you have to make sure that you establish your relationship and you establish your rapport with the clients. I mean, I think that I think you're, part of what you said, I think, is very, very true. That the days of being able to go back out and have somebody see your facial expression, "Oh my God, that's great," or that type of thing. I think to a certain extent, you're not gonna see as much of that. But I think that was coming anyhow. I think this COVID-19 probably accelerated it. If anything, there are many, many, many. There's so many people that are now buying homes, buying property online. I mean, I have people I have clients that have basically said, "Tell me what you think." Okay. And what we'll do is we'll use the inspection period as my first opportunity to get to see it, if I can make it down. And in some cases, they basically said, "You know what? This looks good. The pictures are great. The video you took is great. I got the inspection report. It looks terrific. The appraisal came through. It looks wonderful. Thanks so much." Okay. And let's go. Let's go to closing. And,
Close
and,
it.
and they never even see it. They've never even seen it. So
How are you moving forward in terms of these times and how are you adapting to it? that in the long term you have to do this kind of thing? So how are you?
Actually, for me, it's really no change. My business and my goal is it's relationship based.
Okay.
Okay, so I do as much as I can to make sure that I understand what my clients and what my prospective clients are looking for. I'll go through, we go through, I don't want to call it exhaustive because that gives that negative connotation, but we're very, very thorough in what in making sure that we understand what are you looking for? What are your tangible goals? What are your tangible objectives? What are your intangibles? Okay. When you come into this property that you're going to call home, or when you come to this property that you've invested your hard-earned money into, what are the things that you want to see? I mean, what do you want to get from this? And it's great for somebody to say, you know what, hey, I want to buy a property where I'm going to get I want an investment property with a 10% cap rate. Or
Yeah.
I want I want a home where when I come home, it's a haven. It's an island of tranquility and a sea of insanity. And those are and making sure that you understand what people are looking for. So for me, it hasn't really changed a whole lot. What it has done for me is it's educated me on how to be, I think, a more more holistic realtor. I spend a lot of time. I spend even more time now making sure that I get to understand what are the intangible things that you're looking for. I mean, I have clients that tell me all the time when they're out looking for property, I want to be wowed when I go in. Okay, well, help me understand what that wow factor is. Is that wow factor you walk in the front door and you see your pool sitting out in the back? Is that wow factor that when you walk in your front door, you see somebody playing golf in your backyard? Or is that wow factor when you come walking in there, you close the door and there's silence? And basically, I mean, so it's one of these things where I've learned to ask more introspective questions, and I've learned to spend even more time getting to know what people are looking for. And it's the same thing with sellers. I mean, it's not just on the buyer side. When you meet with a seller, there's a lot of competition for people. Everybody wants to list your home. Everybody wants to list it.
Absolutely.
But I don't. I want to help you sell your home. There's a big difference. Okay. There are a number of realtors who one of their biggest goals or one of their biggest quota is see who can get the most listings this month. Okay. And that's not helping anybody. Okay. What you want to find out is, why do you want to sell your home? What's driving you to sell it? Okay. Is it time for you to move on? Do you have a family emergency that's going to require some of the proceeds from the sale of this home? Okay. And what's your time frame? So you need to invest that time, and you need to invest that interest, and you need to be sincere, and you need to be interested. You can't walk in there with a piece of paper and a pencil and checking things off. You have to spend the time, sit down, get to know your clients, get to know what they're looking for, and you have to. I mean, so to me, it hasn't changed that much. It's just it's made me more aware of the importance of what I've been doing all along.
Absolutely. I mean, so that's some. I would ask you shed some advice at the end of this session, but you've already given that. What is the most expensive house on the market right now in South Florida? Or maybe let's say within your listings.
Within our listings, there is a beautiful, beautiful property that is on the Broward County, Miami-Dade County area, and it's going for about $45 million.
Woo!
So it's a beautiful property.
At least say it's $45 million, right? So it's okay.
$45 million. And it's
in pounds though, but it's okay.
Yes. Well, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful property. We have a lot of condos that are coming in that are approaching the 10, 12, and $13 million range for the condos. Wow. And that's not just a townhouse. Those are condos where you come in and you're taking up half a floor. But what really makes up the price and subsequently the value is the amenities you get with those. You get private elevator service. You have private covered parking. You have valets. You have a private pool. one of the things that I've seen recently coming in is that condos used to be having a gas grill on in a condominium in South Florida was a big no-no. Now some of the condominium associations and condos, they have the gas pipe right up to the outside. So you have a beautiful Viking gas grill in your kitchen, and you have a huge gas grill out on your patio for entertaining.
For barbecue.
So I mean, it's, you know, and again, it's part of what even the builders and the developers are listening now to what people are doing. Gone are the cookie cutter days.
It's all about convenience, right? If I want to buy a house, I'm spending so much amount of money. I want each and every facility that my family would want.
I think it's convenience, but it's also, are you listening to me? Do you hear what I'm saying? These are the things that I'm looking for. If I'm going to be spending, it used to be that everybody, when you got $1 million listing, people thought that you walked on water. Okay. Nowadays,
I get that so many times.
Yeah, it used to be, and it used to be where if you came down and you wanted to buy property in South Florida, and you brought your checkbook, everybody was in awe of the fact that you were going to pay cash for a $500,000 piece of property. Okay, I mean, nowadays, if you want to impress me, pay cash for a $13 million property. Now I'm impressed. Okay, but what I think is really happening is that not only are the builders and the developers, they're listening to what people are saying, but also when people move into their property, gone are the days of where they made it their own. They went out to make it something that was based upon what are some very common conveniences. What are some of the things that if I were to go back in and buy this again, what would I want to see in this property? And that's some of the things that are driving how properties are being built and how they're being renovated.
Same in London, same in the UK. It's exactly that people, the developers, the guys who do the property refurbishment, they're actually listening to the client.
Yeah.
I mean, if I go there's a development here in Kensington, which is part of the West End, the central London West End of London, and they had a youth scheme of development where it went in phases. Now, if you see parts of the phase 1 buildings and compare it to parts of the phase 2 buildings, you would start thinking, did this developer build both the phases? Because there's so many changes: the flooring, the kitchen, marble, the bathroom, the way the layout is. And like I mentioned, developers are listening to all of that stuff and producing what people want to live in.
And the other thing is, I think that if you want to be successful or continue to be successful as a realtor down here, you need to listen to that too. Because when people come to you and say, "Hey, look, I'm thinking about selling my house. What do you recommend that I do?" Gone are the days where you say, "Throw a coat of paint on it and put new carpeting." That's not going to work anymore. Okay, you need to go back and you need to be able to go back and say, you know, look, I've done a study of the market in this area. This is these are the amenities and these are the characteristics of property that are selling in this area. And for example, I'm in what is known as Pompano Beach, and I work Pompano Beach, Coral Springs, Coconut Creek. Okay. What is desirable and prevalent in that area, okay, may not be desirable and prevalent 20 miles up the road in Delray Beach, or may not even be relevant at all if you go further up the road to West Palm Beach. So you really need to be cognizant, and you need to, again, it goes back to the same thing, the relationship. You need to sit down and listen to what people are saying, and you need to understand what they're asking. And a lot of times when dealing with property, and especially over the last 2 months, I think because people have been spending so much time in their home, it's given them reason to take restock of what is my home's value to me. I mean, there's no shortages of places like Zillow and Trulia where you can go out and you can get, quite frankly, and I hate to say it this way, but I'm going to call it as I see it, a really half-assed value of a piece of property. It's based upon a bunch of coefficients and a bunch of algorithms that people who have no understanding of what real estate valuation is are sitting there for the simple reason that they want to basically get people to sign up so they can get their contact information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Zillow, that's the way it is. Okay. But what happens is
So we have the same thing here with companies like Rightmove and Zoom,
right.
that kind of stuff.
If,
Um,
if you're listening, if you're listening to what people are telling you, okay, and you know what they're saying, okay, and you're picking up on what some of the nonverbal things that are saying. I mean, I have clients when I have a couple of clients who've been looking for quite some time, and they're looking for just the right home. Now, granted, this COVID-19 has disrupted their search, but I can tell when I walk in there, and I'm the first one in. I walk in there, I'm the one that goes through to make sure that that I have the gloves there, the disinfectant, everything is there. Okay. As soon as that door is open, okay, I can tell by the look on her face. Okay, are we going to spend? Are we going to spend?
2 seconds.
Yeah. Are we going to spend 5 seconds there, or are we going to spend 25 minutes? Okay, and it's one of these. And there are times now where I've gotten to the point to where I'll be standing in the driveway and they'll come up and I'll go,
Nah, it's not happening.
if you want to see it, great. But I'm telling you right now, and they stick their head and they go, "Yep, you're right." Okay. So, again, you have to be able to do that, and the only way you do that is by doing your homework, okay, and by making sure that you understand what people are looking for. And I'm sure you see this.
Absolutely, 100%. Kevin, before we wrap up, you've already given your piece of advice of listening to your client, but I have to ask you this: there are a lot of youngsters and teenagers or business owners or employees or investors that have had a major setback in these, a lot of negativity going
Right.
people want that positive, uh, they need that positivity in their life to get up and start doing something. What would your positive advice be to people like
I think the fact that number one is that everybody has something to give. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How bad a hand you think you've been dealt. Okay. Everybody has something positive to give. Okay. And in many cases, if you smile at somebody and they smile back, you've given them something because 30 seconds before. Okay. The other thing is that go back to your roots. Go back to what it is that you know makes you happy. Go back to what it is that you know makes you comfortable.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about getting out of your comfort zone to do things. And yeah, when you're going to do something new, you got to get out of your comfort zone. Okay.
Of course.
But there are times when you get out there and you're kind of shaking a little bit, you're kind of a little unsure, take a step back in, take a deep breath, go back to what you know, recenter yourself, because that will give you that re-energy to get back out and go do things. Okay. The worst thing that can happen to you is when you're dealing with somebody, is the worst thing they can possibly say is no.
Yep.
Okay, that's it. I mean, if you go to somebody and say, "Hey, look, I'd like to help you sell your house," and they say no, okay, fine. They say no. Then you ask them, okay, so why? Okay, but if you're just starting out, or if you feel like and there are some people it's really, really difficult. These last 3 months, as I'm sure it is in London and the UK and everywhere else in the world.
Of course.
But down here, I mean, there are a lot of people who are basically thinking that wow, the world's almost come to an end. I mean, somebody sent me something from the Farmer's Almanac in 1981 that said in 2020 there's going to be a pneumonia-like virus that's going to take over the world. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, wow, okay.
And it's actually
and my thing was my question to them was, are you going to let this run your life? Are you going to let this what's going on now? Are you going to let that define you? And the younger you are, okay, and the less experience you have in dealing with adversity, or the less experience you have in dealing with difficulty, okay, it's going to have a greater impact on you. So you have to look deep within yourself and find out what it is that keeps you going. I mean, is it, and it's as simple as that. I mean, for different people, it's different things. But what is it that gets you up in the morning and gets you going? For me, okay, it's real estate. Okay, I love helping people. I'll make 100, 200 calls a day, and I could get 199 or 99 people saying no. But you know what? I'm looking for that one person to say yes. Okay, or that one person to say maybe. Or just don't say no, or just don't hang up on me. Okay, so and it's difficult. I mean, especially now, you can't go knock on doors anymore right now. If you start walking up to people's houses with a mask on, okay, carrying a bag of disinfectant, they're going to call the cops. Okay,
Absolutely.
so you got to find what it is inside you, okay, that gives you that inner fire, that inner strength to keep going. And for me, it's I come from a long background of corporate. In fact, I spent a lot of time in London, in the UK. I worked for BT for 10 years.
Wow.
And so for me, okay, it's now giving back. It's being able to go back and help people. I've had people come to me and say, geez, my credit's not that great. Okay, can you help me find a piece of property? Or my parents are ill, and I don't want to put them into a home, but they need to be somewhere where there's assisted living where it's close to me. Okay, or something along those lines. And working with people like those and finding those people. I mean, yeah, everybody wants the whale. They want the 5, 10, $15 million property. But I'll tell you, I get as much satisfaction out of helping somebody get into a $107,000 condominium that's going to be a new home for their parents are happy, or hey, I just graduated from college, I just got a job, okay, I have no experience, I have no credit. You know what, we got first-time home buyer programs for you that will knock your socks off. You can get in for little to no money down. Okay, so talk to people who know, talk to people who are experts. Okay, but at the end of the day, go back and find out what it is that centers yourself.
Absolutely. But Kevin, it's been a pleasure speaking to you about the real estate market in Florida and all this advice and all this talk and all the knowledge that you shared about the property market in Florida and how you do business with your clients and the buyers, sellers, whatever, the way you work, sharing all of that, and a pleasure to listen to. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing all that pieces of advice with me.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thanks again so much.
Not a problem.
Take care.
Yeah, take care. See you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye. Okay, so now what do we need to do?
So that was Kevin Morris, all the way from South Florida, discussing about the Florida market, property market as a whole, and why you should buy there, the returns that they have, the capital appreciation that they have, all that kind of stuff. It's been good to know, and they have $45 million house on their listing, so do check it out. And if you're looking for a property in Florida, contact Kevin Morris. I'm sure he'll be able to help you out. So thank you so much to all the viewers that tuned in this evening. Got 2 sessions tomorrow. Absolutely amazing. Looking forward to them. One's a Forex trader, one's a business coach, life coach again. So it should be great. So see you soon and take care. Enjoy whatever you're doing. Have a super evening. Take care. Bye-bye.